Hello. So I can't really say that I've traveled too many places or that I have very many interesting stories to tell, but what I'm going to talk about is when my senior class and I traveled to Europe. It was honestly probably one of the most memorable trips I've ever been on. It was a crazy experience, both fun and some parts not so fun, but overall I highly recommend going, and at least if you don't go to Europe, at least experiencing going out of the country, because it's definitely once in a lifetime opportunity, and I will probably cherish the memories I have and take them to my grave. So I think there was, I want to say 30, maybe more of us, including our chaperones, who loaded up onto a bus and went to the airport. We actually had a night flight, so that was super nice considering that I think it was a 10-hour, maybe 11-hour flight. For coming from someone who isn't a huge fan of flying, it was a kind of interesting experience considering that we experienced turbulence a few times, so that was interesting for sure. But like I said, it was a night flight, so we basically slept most of the way. We literally only woke up just to eat, I think. That was it. And then once we landed, we pretty much hit the ground running because the time difference. So we ended up having to check into our hotel, I'm pretty sure. And then from there, we went to Pompeii, which was honestly kind of breathtaking and speechless whenever we showed up there. You see all these things, these historical figures and these landmarks growing up. You see them in books and magazines or in movies, whatnot. Actually experiencing and seeing them in person is incredible. There really isn't really words to put to it to explain the experience and what it is actually seeing it in person. So highly recommend to do something like that. From Pompeii, I'm pretty sure we went from, I want to say we went to Rome, I think, after that. And then once we kind of experienced Italy, we did the major landmarks in Italy. We then hopped on an overnight train to France, which the overnight train itself was a pretty crazy experience. You pretty much all of us, our big group of people, crammed in this little train, and you're in these little box cars. Talk about if you're claustrophobic, it's definitely not for you, because you're sleeping, they're bunk beds, and you're basically sleeping maybe a couple inches from the person below you or above you, depending on where you're sleeping in the bunk. But yeah, very tight, and overall that ride wasn't bad, but it was very hectic getting our group of 30 people to the train and there on time, and that's probably what the downfall of the trip was, is traveling with that many people and then having such a strict schedule. And I think we followed an itinerary kind of, because we were with a tour group. So basically we had all these scheduled times and we had to be there in this time. We had to meet our buses, had to meet our trains. So we were constantly going. It kind of reminds me of the movie Home Alone, when they're frantically running through the airport trying to get to their plane. That was us. That was all of our friends, my friends and I. We were running through the airport and the bus stations and stuff like that, trying to get to where we were supposed to be on time. But overall, it worked out. It was an awesome experience. Then we, from Italy, once we left Italy and we got to France, we went to Versailles, I think, and then from Versailles we went to Paris, which overall, I honestly, each place we stopped was incredible, and it just got better and better as we went on. Like I said, the things that you see in person, you really can't explain unless you have been there yourself. It's hard to kind of talk about, but it's insane. The things that you see, it's definitely not like it is in the movies and stuff like that. It is to a point, but getting to be there in person is incredible. And then after Paris, I want to say Paris was our last stop, so that was pretty much the end of the trip. Like I said, we were there for like a week. The trip went by pretty fast, actually, because we had so many places that we went. We didn't just go one place for the whole width of the time. So it was a crazy experience, but like I said, it was, probably one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had myself. I would highly recommend going if you haven't been, or going out of the country at least. Like, I'm someone who, I love, like, history and learning about all the historical figures and stuff like that, landmarks, and I also love learning about new cultures and getting to experience different cultures. So for me, especially with my interest, that was probably one of the best things, and then also being alongside my friends with the trip too. But yeah, that was pretty much my most memorable travel experience, and thanks for listening.